Hello, welcome to our first Facebook Live of 2020. And who better to join me but Vicki Ronchetti for Show Dog Prep School. Today we are going to be talking about, is it really worth showing your own dog in conformation, also known as owner handler? And I just want to thank you guys for tuning in on this Sunday afternoon, because it's great to keep learning new things, whether you're involved in that activity or not. I think you can always gain more knowledge and support the dog community by learning more things. So, welcome, Vicki. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So, I know this is a topic very near and dear to your heart, because you really support people in this area and you live and breathe it, right? So, I thought I would just jump right in and say, like, what the heck is an owner handler?
Well, within the dog show world and community, there's a lot of different players. You know, you have judges and you have ring stewards and you have the people behind the scenes. But actually, the in the ring piece would be the judges, and then whoever's, exhibitors. We're called exhibitors when we're showing our dogs. So you have professional handlers, which are people that are being paid to do this. And honestly, a lot of times people get frustrated because they're like, it's so political, or the owner handler or the professional handler always wins. And that happens. Certainly, I would say that that's something that happens more commonly at the higher levels, like when you're getting into group placements and best in show. It matters. You know, it matters who the judges are seeing campaigned every week. It matters who they're seeing in magazines. But then there's this other group that's us. That's me, that's a breeder owner handler. And I was going to say that people sometimes get frustrated with professional handlers always winning. But the truth is that I've seen professional handlers make a dog look so good, I didn't recognize the dog from the day before. Mm-hmm. So I'll actually say, oh, who is so-and-so showing today? That dog wasn't here yesterday, and it was there, but it just wasn't presented well. So what that means is that, a really good handler, whether you're a professional handler, an owner handler who's just really skilled, can make a dog look better. You can make maybe even a not as good dog look better. But you can also make a really good dog look not good if you don't know what you're doing. So owner handlers are those of us who want to do it ourselves, who are in the ring showing our own dogs, who are not just, cranking out champions with a professional handler, which I don't hate him for that, but that's not me. I want to do this with my dog. My clients, most of them want to do it with their dog. Some people don't. A lot of people, I've had people that hired me to train their dog for them while they sat there and watched, and then they handed the dog to a handler or their breeder and someone else showed the dog because they didn't have any interest in it. But that's a long answer of what an owner handler is.
Yeah, well, it's important because I think some people just don't know, especially if they're just getting started. And I know I'm very novice. I get to learn through you and through Hannah and Chelsea through all these avenues. But it's important to know, well, what is it, in that sport? And, this is a sport. And so many times in our sports, like I always think we as, the owner do the thing with the dog, right? And so that's what you're saying, like enjoy it together versus here's the dog, go show them.
Yeah, I do feel like in conformation, more so than with most other dog sports, it really, people get so focused on the end result instead of the journey. Like you don't see people saying, I can't wait till my dog finishes his, his agility title so that we can not do this anymore. You know what I mean? That's not what they do. They do it to move on. And I do feel like it has been frustrating for owner handlers sometimes because depending on the breed you have, and I've had a fairly popular breed, which is Dachshunds, which I showed in forever, for years and years and years, where you're going to go to a dog show, there's going to be Dachshunds there. They're just not at the dog show, right? And so you're going to have maybe a few owner handlers, and then you're going to have or mostly owner handlers and breeder owner handlers, and you're going to have just a few pro handlers. But then you get breeds, and maybe just long-haired Dachshunds in a day. Maybe the average in my area is that there's 25 dogs entered. Well, if you look at like golden retrievers, they're probably going to have 35 in one class. Right. So you can see how it gets harder and harder if you have a dog, a breed that's going to have big numbers, where you're going to have tons and tons. So those people, they have to work a little harder. But I do like that AKC has given owner handlers the owner handler series, which is a national program where, only owner handlers compete, and the grand championship, because now we have something to go for and not just trying to chase around group placements, which can be really hard to get.
Yeah. And it's so important that you said, it's part of the journey. And now they've given you these different things to work towards, to really help those who are trying to do it that way.
Yeah. And for those of us who really just want to go to dog shows all the time, I'm not going to, if I don't have anything to show, you know what? I still go to dog shows. Like, I go watch clients. I'll have people be like, and it's like, I can't stay away from it long. That's where I want to be. That's what I like to do. So, part of the problem, I think, with the owner handler thing, and I think it's getting better now, but, judges can be pretty, not always supportive. I've had a lot of clients over the years who almost gave up because they were told, you should it's a beautiful dog, you just need to get a better handler. Meaning, you're like, that's saying you're not good. I'm telling you, you're not good. Now, I would say that's not the case with most judges. And I've just had to encourage my clients, like, I know that happens. I know they say things like that, but you just need to keep doing it.
Mm-hmm.
You
need to be that handler. Yeah. And it's possible.
Yeah. And that you're only going to get better if you keep doing it. That's it. Like you can go to all the classes in the world, but you are not going to really get the information of what it feels like to be in there and how you're going to work with your dog in an environment that creates so much anxiety, maybe for you, performance anxiety. So yeah, it can be a lot getting people feeling really comfortable in there.
And in Conformation, I think of like rally and scent work. Like, every time I do a trial, it's basically a test to say, like, where are we really doing well today in this moment, and where do we need to work on that? Is that kind of the same when you're going into the show ring?
For sure, especially if you have a dog who has an issue, and so that's what a lot of what I do, which is dogs who are fearful, or they're so over aroused that they carry their tail too high. That's something that people are like, but how do I just fix the tail? And it's like, this is a whole emotional thing. We need to fix other stuff. And that's a hard thing for I would say the more old school people who are just used to, like, look, I just hand my dog to a handler and they finish it. Well, then if you've got a dog who has an issue, that's the dog is saying, I can't do that, then you can't do that,
Right.
You have to figure it out. But I'm about, wanting to help people who want to do this, either train their dog for someone else, or raise puppies that'll be shown or handled by someone else, or who want to do it themselves.
And so would you say that's really, that's kind of my next question was, like, who should be an owner handler versus using a professional? You kind of led me in there.
Okay, so let's see. Here's a great option for a professional handler. Somebody who, physically can't do it. Like, maybe they've had German Shepherds for 40 years and now they cannot run full speed with a German Shepherd at the front of a 6-foot lead. That, it can get intense where it's just really like they physically can't do it anymore. Or I've had a lot of clients where they did show their dogs before, but then, now, like, they have some kind of a physical limitation, like, they hurt their knee or whatever, so they can't do it. I had one client who had surgery and her dog was in the top 5. So she put him with a handler so that he didn't drop out of the top 5 when she couldn't show him. I've had a lot of clients who got all their single points on their dogs, but those hard to get majors, which is 3, 4, or 5 points at one show. So if you get 3, 4, or 5 points in one show, that's called a major. And in order to get your championship, you have to get 2 majors. And so sometimes people are just like, I can't get that major, so I'm going to use a handler because there's more dogs there, right? There's a higher entry, or there's no majors in our area. So they'll send their dog with a handler to do a little traveling because maybe there's, no loud chins in, wherever, Alaska, but their handler, they have a handler here in Southern California or in Northern California, so they send the dog here, kind of thing.
Gotcha.
So that can be a great time when somebody wants to use a professional handler. Sometimes you just want to see what your dog looks like in the ring. So sometimes, people will do that. I've had a friend, when I was showing Opie, I had a friend start showing him because I was showing another dog, and Opie had been attacked on a walk. And so I had a lot of anxiety about it. And I didn't feel like he really liked it. So my friend's special wasn't working out. So we just decided she would do a little bit of it because I got so anxious when I was with him in the ring, and I was worried that my emotional stuff was bleeding over into him. So that could be a reason too that someone might want to use a handler. Maybe you just want to see what the dog looks like, see how the dog does with someone else, that kind of thing.
And so is it that you can do owner handler and you could have a professional at different shows?
Absolutely. In the same show.
Oh, in the same show. Okay.
You could win the breed and then, see that a handler, doesn't have a dog, a special is when they're already a champion, right? So it doesn't have any in the non-sporting breed and group. And then maybe I say, oh, will you show them in group? Because maybe I can win at the breed level, but I might need a little, or, I know somebody who, she did that, or her dog had got, a group placement, and then it was like for best in show, she's just like, I can't go into the best in show ring, so if there's a handler standing around who's not going in there, they may have someone do it.
Okay, so that's cool.
Yeah.
So it's definitely, you have a lot of advantage as an owner handler because you have that connection, you're along the journey, but if you do need support, you can go that route as well. So I love that.
Yeah, the key is just, I think I've had a reputation for a long time of being anti-professional handler, but I'm not. But I mean, I'm a teacher. Like, I'm teaching people with their dogs. So of course I'm always there to support owner handlers. But, my thing is, if you have a handler who treats the dog right, and you know that the dog is going to be put first, then I don't see anything wrong with using a handler if you need to.
Sure. And do handlers work with the dogs and teach the dog things, or is that something like an owner could do?
Well, this is the thing. This is maybe my beef a little bit with the show world. People would never just roll up to obedience ring and take a dog who'd never been trained and just put him in novice and see what happens. Like, you wouldn't do that, you would not expect a dog to perform, but people do it with show dogs all the time. I mean, if you had any idea how many people would call me and be like, we have a show coming up and my dog's never done this. And it's a 9-month-old puppy. It's his first show in 2 weeks. Can you help me? And it's like, well, maybe, I mean, it depends on the individual. It depends on if he's already comfortable being touched all over the place. It's comfortable. It's, depends on if he can be still. There's a lot of things that come into play in that. So some handlers, like the dog I was talking about, where she had surgery and so she couldn't show the dog, she actually made the handler jump through some hoops to show the dog. It was like, well, I need to see you with him. Well, you need to play with him. We need to see how he feels about it, and that dog went on to have a career with multiple best in shows with the handler. He had gotten group placements, even for group firsts with the owner, but getting to best in show it's challenging. And I'm in California, where we have a lot of big name handlers. So it depends on the breed again, but if you come in here with some of the breeds, these handling, teams are machines. Like, their grooming is on point. That's another thing too. Sometimes people will ask me, I want to get a dog and I want to show it myself. And I've had people say, what do you think of a standard poodle? And it's like, not if you ever want to win, because if you're going to get a breed that had like a terrier or a poodle or a Bichon, I mean, you really have to know how to groom, because then you have not only training. Okay, we can do the training. We can, if you follow the plan and you work it, we can do that. But then there's the presentation, and then there's the whole, that whole other piece of also the grooming. If you've got a dog that's, that can't be off. It can make the dog look like a completely different animal.
Sure, and all the work that's put into it too.
Yeah, exactly. Like one person, a trainer had actually asked me, that was one of the dogs on her list. And I was like, look, if you want to get into poodles, then maybe you get a poodle and you show it when it's still in a puppy cut in the puppy classes. You know what I mean? But it's going to be a lot of work, like hours and hours and hours and hours a week, just washing and blowing out and putting up in hair bands and all that. I mean, it's a ton. So I think that, that's a piece that we have to look at too.
Mm-hmm. And that's something that, you as an expert, you have to educate us, because you think like, oh, a poodle would be great. Like I would love a poodle, but I definitely know better than to show it. Like it would always be cut down because,
Oh,
I
exactly.
go to shows and those poodles live on the tables. Like they love it. Like they live there. They're
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
that's their kennel.
exactly. And that's a lifestyle that they're trained to do. You know what I mean? The breeders and handlers who do poodles or whatever, or any breed, they're taking them to dog shows from when they're early. So they're very used to the whole situation and scenario and just being there. But yeah, the grooming piece, it's a lot. And it can be, I mean, you can't even always find someone to teach you how to do it.
Right. Yeah.
You're looking all over the place and trying to find someone who actually is good and also willing to share it. And it can be a lot, hard to do.
Absolutely. Well, Ren chimed in here. I'm going to show her question slash comment. She's a breeder, owner, handler of German Shepherds. She's been successful, but realized, needs to be better with grooming.
Mm-hmm.
Local groomers don't groom for dog shows. And
I
if
don't.
you didn't know, Ren, Vicky also is very skilled in the grooming world. So this is the right place to be. Any suggestions on how to find someone to help? Besides come see you and at CCA next month.
I think that that can be challenging for a lot of people. Not so much for the shepherd because there's not really, other than neatening up and trimming and stuff like that, it's not like a crazy amount of hand scissoring or stripping with your fingers like you do with terriers and things like that. So with a shepherd, I think that you probably do need to be better with grooming, but I think a lot of it is just for a dog like that when it's more about, the grooming is more about like the coat and stuff. It might be more about products. So just using the products that are appropriate. So there are some good show groom lists. You can certainly ask on my Positive Training for Show Dogs Facebook page about that. But yeah, most of the time, like I do groom still 2 days a week in a grooming shop, and we do not do show dogs, but I do a lot of show louching. So I don't mind doing them because just really not a lot of people know how to do them, and they're not hard, but you still got to know how to do them. So I think that the best things to do are talk to your breeder, get the feedback from the breeder in terms of, what grooming needs to be done. It's also important to keep in mind that grooming can be different regionally based on like what everybody's doing here or what's going on with, the top winning dogs in the moment. Like if a dog is doing a lot of winning, then the trims might change a bit to reflect that because he wins. So then everybody starts trimming them like that dog,
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So
like
I would
celebrities
say,
and their hair. It works with show dogs too.
Exactly. It's trend. So I would say the best thing to do would be to learn how to groom your shepherd yourself. A lot of times, like at least in California, there's a lot of times pet stores that will have like a do-it-yourself bathtub where they'll have like a high-powered blower. And I've already also been hearing about people having grooming rooms in their apartment buildings in the Bay Area. So that might be an option too. If you don't have all of the big equipment you need, to just go ahead and go to a place that you can pay $15 and do it yourself. But you're lucky in that breed is fairly natural-ish, than
Gotcha.
some of them. Yeah.
Okay. Very cool. I never thought about grooming a shepherd for show, but makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, and the thing is, this is the things that we look at in show dogs that most people don't have to. Like when people say, well, I want to get a show dog, should I get a boy or a girl? Well, it's going to be harder if you have a bitch, because every time she comes in season, she's going to blow coat, or she might not be wanting to show. You know what I mean? There's all these elements, and the coat and the grooming comes into it. I mean, dogs will dump coat and people will have them entered in all these shows, and then all of a sudden they're out of coat and they're not competitive anymore.
Right.
And that can be more or less depending on the breed.
Right.
Like,
and then the individual dog.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah. But somebody could have something like a Shepherd or an Aussie, and the dog looks like it just doesn't have any coat because it just dumped a bunch of coat,
Right. And they're always going to do it right before the show.
Yeah, exactly. But product does make a big difference. And when and how you're grooming these dogs, like how far, like I have right now, I'm showing a drop coated dog. So I have to wash him every week. Two of them. I have two of them that I'm showing. So they both get washed every week. And then for, and they have hair that gets matted. I mean, it will get knots. So they literally, like, I don't skip a day. I'm so worried about coming to Atlanta. I'm like, oh my God, Michelle's coming with me. So who's going to brush Jaeger? Because that's a real thing in my life. Like, I have to have arrangements for the dogs to be brushed when I'm away. So yeah, it can become quite a thing with some types of coats.
Yeah. There's so many things. So I want you guys to continue to ask questions. Thank you guys for tuning in. We're going to keep the conversation going, but we thank Ren for being the first one to ask the question. Yeah. It's always that first person who gets the things going. So when, thinking about, being an owner and wanting to handle your dog, what are some basic things they should think about in order to prepare themselves as well as the dog, and something that maybe is across the board regardless of the breed?
I would say so let's just talk about somebody showing an individual dog. They're showing one dog. I would say one, train the dog. Train the dog. The behaviors are not super complicated, but if you're asking an animal to go in the ring and be fabulous looking and perform on point, then teach him how to do that so he knows how to do it. So I would say that that's a big thing. I would make sure emotionally that the dog is prepared, meaning that the dog not being okay about being at a dog show or in the ring or with a stranger touching it is not ready, in my opinion. And that's where the big clash is with more traditional thinking. It's like, no, he looks good. He looks so good. I need to get him in the ring now. And it's like, he's going to look horrible if you show him, because he's going to look like a dog who doesn't want to be there. And that happens a lot, where they'll say, well, he looks so good, I entered him. And, what do you think? And it's like, well, I think he won't. Or they'll say, should I enter him? You can. He won't win. Will he get through it? Yes. Will he live? Yes. Will he win? No, because he will show with his tail down, and they will not put him up with his tail down. And it's like, you could waste your money and get frustrated, and then also potentially have a bad experience with the dog, and he's not going to win. So, right. I try and encourage people to wait. So make sure the dog is emotionally ready. Make sure the dog is physically ready. There's no rush with some of these guys. If you have a 6-month, 8-month-old, Swissy or something, think of a big dog, that dog's not going to be competitive for a long time. I mean, some people wouldn't even bring a male out of those big breeds until they're 3 years old, because they're not competitive for a while. But on the same token, if the dog looks appropriate and okay for his age and isn't like an embarrassment, like horrible looking, you can show him. But be prepared that he might not be competitive. In other words, if I'm, I don't mind showing a dog who looks appropriate for their age, but isn't at all yet mature enough, if that makes sense. Right. Yeah. So it's like, if the dog is kind of, on point, and I think that they're going to be okay, but maybe they're a little leggy right now, but they're 9 months, that's fine. I expect leggy at 9 months. But if they look like a train wreck, and they're leggy and they're out this way and, all this stuff's going on, then I might want to let them mature a little bit.
Right. And it's just going to depend.
It's just going to depend. I mean, I remember that, my first breed and what I showed for a long time with Dachshunds, and smooths. So they would look fabulous and be ready. And I'd enter them and the show comes and the dog looks like, 50 feet long with a big noodle tongue. I'm just like, oh my God, what happened to you? And what happened was they just changed, They literally they're just going through change in their body.
It makes me think of like a young person who's like in beauty pageants very young, and then they turn into a teenager.
Yeah, and then they're 14 and it's like, wowzers. They're going to be really, 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 beautiful when they grow up, but they go through just these like stages, and that's okay. And as your lines, and the dogs that you'll start to see, I'm not worried about it because I know how these dogs grow.
Right.
And I know how
that's
this
what else
line
is going to show up, right?
Yeah.
You're going to compete against other kind of gangly teenage dogs, right? Oh, goodness. All right. So Ren's checking in one more time, and I'll share that. So it's been helpful in the beginning to go and watch, of course, right? Totally agree with watching pro handlers and other handlers, and you learn the important tricks. And I think that's something that you would, totally agree with, is go and watch, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because, well, I always have people not only watch like in person, but also you can sometimes get videos of your national. So then you can see like German Shepherd after German Shepherd after German Shepherd after, you can see a bunch of your breed. So you can see what you want to do and also what you don't want to do. Mm-hmm. Right. So, and I think Ren also mentioned dressing, and it's like, one thing that I always tell people is that we do, as owner handlers, have some advantages over pro handlers. I mean, we do. We only have to dress for one dog or maybe two dogs. A pro handler might be showing 30 or 40 dogs. If I'm showing one, I can dress for that individual,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because if I'm showing, if I'm not showing a black dog, I can wear black clothes. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But if I'm showing a bunch, I better have something that's going to look decent with, with everybody. So yeah, I think that, and that's one of the things I tell owner handlers a lot. You know what? Maybe your dog's not as great as even the one the pro handler has. And maybe, you're not as great a handler, but nothing can stop you from dressing as good as they do. I mean, unless you don't have money, but you could dress professionally and at least have that piece, covered.
And so what are some of the other advantages of being an owner handler? And that you only have a couple dogs, maybe you said, dress.
Mm-hmm. You only have to train one. You only have to prepare one. You probably only have to lug one to the show, unless you're transporting dogs for people. You only have to like be in one ring. So if you win that one, then you're probably just going to go on with that same dog to another ring if he wins more. So I think the advantage is just that you can dress for your individual dog, you can train your dog, you can prepare the dog. You can go to the dog show and actually mentally prepare the dog by being able to be with him in your setup. Because if he's, a handlers, they have assistants, but the dogs are put out in X-pens. I mean, you go to a dog show, there's all these RVs with all these X-pens, and they get up in the morning and the dogs are put out in X-pens. And then they start getting them ready for the show. So, if I'm showing my own dogs, they don't have to be left. They don't have to, it's me and them, and we go to our setup and we're hanging out, or we walk around and shop and hang out with our friends and start getting them kind of ready. So I think those are all big advantages that owner handlers have. We also can really tailor things to our individual dogs. You don't have to remember, oh, so-and-so doesn't like this collar, and so-and-so, you just have to think about one dog, maybe two dogs, one judge, one ring. You know what I mean? I just think it can make it so much easier when they do that.
And you can really enjoy it more too. It sounds like getting to shop and hang out with people.
Yeah, I have for years shown dogs for other people, just helping out here and there. And I like to do that, especially if I don't have anything to show. But I was going to show a dog for someone recently, and I just decided I couldn't do it. It was a class dog. So I would have to get my dog ready, my special. So my dog's already a champion, right? So it's dogs first, and then bitches, and then the champions. So if I'm showing a champion, and somebody wants me to show a dog or a bitch, that means that my dog, my champion isn't getting dealt with while I'm in the ring with the other dogs.
Right.
Right. And this is a small breed. So there may be only one bitch. So I have to finish in dogs, do something with the dog I'm showing, then go get my male ready, who requires some burning some stink off and a little bit of like getting our heads together. So I just decided this is not good for us. We're not doing this anymore. It is not good for me and for him if I am screwing around with other dogs. It's one thing if I'm showing my own bitch and my own other dog, but
Right.
and I want to be helpful, but I've trust me, I walked around at ringside and fixed everybody's hair when they needed some help, and did top knots or whatever, but not necessarily going to go into the ring with other dogs because it's just not fun for me. What's fun for me is just going there and feeling like my dog is completely ready, not just looking good, but also like we've been able to get in that space together. Mm-hmm. So I think that as owner handlers, we have a lot of advantages. We know these dogs. We live with these dogs.
Mm-hmm.
It's my dog.
Right. Exactly. And ideally you're putting work in either way, and how much better to show that off in the ring, all your connection and work you put in.
Exactly. And there's nothing wrong with having a handler show or finish your dog, but let me tell you that it is an amazing feeling when you do it yourself, especially with your first one. And I'll never forget that when I was showing my first dachshund, my first show dachshund, Slater, who was a big red, real coarse male, who was the best dog, but he wasn't typey, meaning now he's not what I would be wanting to produce in terms of his shape of head and stuff. But a pro handler who actually owned his sire was there, and she was just standing around. She's like, "Hey, you want me to take him in for you?" Because I'm, and I was like, "No, I'm okay. I think I'll give it a shot." And he won the breed. And he was a puppy still. He was a young dog, but he won a 5-point major because he won over all the champions. Wow. And the point of that story is that had she shown him, I would always wonder, did he win because she had him, or did he win because I was showing him? So I do think that it's really meaningful and wonderful when you guys do it, yourself. Again, I don't want to take away from when people are using a handler, but when you're doing it yourself and this is what you want to do, you feel that sense of accomplishment,
Yeah, and you need to give it that opportunity. There's no shame in utilizing a professional when it's appropriate, but
right,
give it a go.
Yeah, I mean, this is, to me, I feel like I get it. I get all the wanting to win, but really, dog shows exist so that people could have their breeding stock evaluated. That's it. It really was never meant to be about rankings or like I've got to have the dog in the top 10 for the next 3 years. It's like that ends up putting a lot of pressure on the person and the dog, because the more money you start investing, the more you have hanging on all this. Do you know what I mean? Right. And people don't understand, like, the amount of money that goes into campaigning a dog. It's not
I can only imagine. Yeah, I mean, it's only imagine.
Yeah, I mean, like, we're talking, it could be $100,000 a year. You're talking about flying a dog all over the country almost every weekend, and then ads, and they're looking at, between I would say $2,500 to $5,000 a month on advertising in the big magazine. I mean, it just adds up. It's a huge thing. Where a big professional handler who's running around with a top winning dog, this is how they're making their money, because every time they win something beyond breed, then they get extra bonuses.
Nice.
Right. So they get a bonus for first, second, third, or fourth place in group. There's, best in show and reserve best in show bonuses. So there's bonuses. So on top of just the $100, $150 you might be showing them just to walk into the ring with your dog, if they do bigger winning, then there's going to be more money. So
Mm-hmm.
they are in it to win it. They're not,
Right.
So,
Absolutely.
but we can be too. And there are, I know in California, which again is a very, very heavy professional handler area. I can think of two right now, right off the top of my head, who I know people who have had best in shows on their owner handled dogs. Not an owner handler best in show, but a regular best in show. So it can be done. Just remember that you got to have a really good dog,
Exactly. Yeah.
and really good dogs. I mean really good show dogs, meaning everything is there. This dog has the whole package, are harder to come by than people realize. Because you could have a dog who's really phenomenal, like phenomenal for his breed. But if he just really can't do the traveling around, it's not going to, it's not going to
Right.
happen. If he really, sort of, doesn't like the show ring, it's not going to happen. Everything has to sort of be in place for you to have, the stars all aligned for not just a show, but for a career for an individual.
Absolutely. Well, we've
It's the
got a
whole
question.
package.
It is the whole package, and
Yeah.
and then you as well,
Yeah.
as well, not just talking about the dog.
Mm-hmm.
So Ryan has a question. Can we talk about what to bring to the show when we're starting out? So if you're an owner handler, aside from just grooming tools, what are
Mm-hmm.
some things that would be helpful?
Well, I want to say that we do have a checklist that's free on Show Dog Prep School. So
Okay.
on our resources page, there's a few free things, like one's a record keeping thing. But I would say these are the most important things. You should bring stuff to make sure you and your dog will be comfortable. So usually that means a crate or an X pen. I bring a crate, or I actually use a big trolley. So it's all one piece now, that the whole thing opens up and I can put multiple dogs in there, all my gear, and it has wheels, and I go. So, something to get the dog in. So maybe you're going to use a trolley or wheels or whatever. Something for yourself to be comfortable, like a chair, so that you have like everything you need. Food for you. I like to bring a chew for the dog, water for you, water for your dog. Depending on where you're at, you may need to be in something to keep the dog warm or cool. So if you've got really hot weather like we get sometimes here, then we use cooling coats and fans and cooling pads. If you have a dog who, like I was just working with one dog who does get sensitive when it's cold. So, we're thinking of strategies. I know that if he gets cold, his top line is going to go rounder. So how can she's actually on here watching. I can see her watching. Her dog just got back in the ring after like years of thinking he wouldn't be shown. He was just entered. He was just showed this weekend and actually did amazing. But with him, he can come to class and I can be like, either his stomach hurts or he's cold, because he's roaching his top line. And I know that when he feels good, his top line doesn't do that. So how can we keep him comfortable? And then, of course, it's a good idea to bring your judging program if you get a male one. And that's the one that tells you what ring you're in, what time you're in, how many of your dogs, what's before you, all that kind of thing. And then all your prep stuff, your show lead and your bait and your collar and all that kind of stuff. So check out that checklist, but that's like my stuff. I also think it's a good idea to have in your bag all the time Benadryl, because sometimes a dog will get bit by a spider or something and they'll start to go up and you're not sure what's happening. And sometimes you just want to get Benadryl on board. So it's good to have that. It's good to bring a towel and no rich shampoo, because sometimes they get sick or they have a poop accident and you want to be able to clean them off. But some of it is dependent on your breed and your individual dog too. But those would be the main things I would start with.
And down in the comments, that checklist is posted, guys, so you can get that right away.
Oh my gosh, did you go find that real quick?
I've got to be a good host here. These people need this information. But you made it easy on your website to find. So
goody.
Oh, and then Angela has a good point here that she forgets parking money. So having a little bit of cash is really important, right? For shopping, for parking.
Oh, that's so good that she said that. You know what, you guys? My sister-in-law got me this little cute like leather dog purse thing from Hawaii, and it just hangs on my my gear shifter in my car, and I try and keep like $10 in there in case I forget bridge toll, because for a
Mm,
lot of my dog shows I have to cross the bridge and I don't have like a fast track. So yeah, but that was a great comment about remembering to bring cash,
yeah,
because yeah, and it's expensive in California. I mean, just the travel fees, parking, bridge toll, I mean, it adds up here.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Not
so
everybody
cash for
takes
sure.
anything but cash, so
Exactly.
having a 10 or 20 handy is
Yeah,
really important.
exactly, exactly.
And that's what's really awesome about, we have a lot of viewers on, is having these resources, right? So you have some free resources on your site. There's you have the Positive Training for Show Dogs Facebook group. Like, we all have to stick together, because like little things like that, like forgetting $10 or whatever, everybody can contribute to make sure that the owner handlers have a really great experience, because we're all together in this.
Exactly. And
Learning different tricks of the trade.
totally. And I have to say that, so I used to be very, very involved in rescue. So I did a lot of not a lot of breeding, but a lot of having show dogs, and purebreds and doing stuff like that, competing with them, and then having a lot of rescues. And then I got really burned out on the show world. And I think it wasn't about the show world. It was about like being too like immersed in one breed. And
Hmm.
so when I started to like, now I go to the dog show, I'll have like a bunch of clients there. So I always invite everybody to set up with me if they want to. So then I'll have like my Ridgeback buddy and my Pharaoh buddy and my Vizsla buddies. And you know what I mean? I'll have all these people, my poodle friend, all these people, and we are all sort of there to support each other. And then I think that breaks up a lot of because we're not really competing against each other,
Right.
right? We're just competing against our breeds. So then you get a little bit more, I feel like a feeling of community and support,
Mm-hmm.
where, you might not have that as much when you're in there with people in the same breed that you're actually competing against.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, also, of course, there's the mentor program, and that's for anybody who really is new and really needs hand holding.
Can you give us a few highlights of the mentor program? Because I'm still learning a lot about it.
Yeah, the mentor program is basically because I had so many people that just had no resources or help in their immediate area. So I started a mentor program, one, because um, I think I have a different goal and vision. And I've had a lot of people talk to me like, why don't you be a handler? Why don't you be a judge? And it's like, because I'm a trainer. Like, I like to train and I like to teach people. So this is where I feel comfortable and where I feel good. So with the mentor program, I mean, I've literally had people texting me or messaging me when I'm getting ready to go in the ring saying, can you look at this video real quick and see how we look? We won the breed. Now we're going to group. So people have pretty direct access to me. They get a couple of free webinars. They get a lot of little freebies that are hard to even like name, because it's just like something comes up and then I'll let them have it for no charge. So like I do the Facebook live classes and there's a fee for that, but I let the mentees, they get to see it and they don't pay for it. So there's like little perks like that. They get a free PDF copy of my book, Ready, Set, Show, which is really a handbook for dog shows. It talks about, you know, what to wear, how to enter, it breaks everything down. It really is for people who are new and just trying to learn how to do all this. So they get that, they get a discount on my personal, not my other instructors, but my personal classes on Show Dog Prep School. They also get access to our exclusive Facebook group, which is just for the mentees, where I have exercises and different practice things going on. And then anybody who's in the mentor program can actually do free live consults with me. So it's just like what we're doing now, but it's only for the mentor group. So if, let's say I saw Joan was on here, Joan's on the mentor program. So let's say Joan said, I've got a show coming up. I really would like some help with this. We set it up like this. Joan has her computer set up so I can see her working her dog, and I'm coaching this way. And our mentor program people can see it.
Very cool.
So
everybody gets to learn.
Everybody gets to learn, and they can give feedback and stuff. And the other thing I like about the mentor program is that it's a not a huge group. I think there's maybe 20 something people in it right now, but they can come to me and say, I really want to learn more about pedigrees. Can you help me? And it's like, yep, absolutely. And we'll open up that can of worms, and then we'll just do a bunch of stuff that gets them the information that they need for that. So yeah, it's a great program. I feel like it's the best way that I found to be able to really, help people individually that I don't have, access to in person.
Right.
A lot of people don't need it if they're coming to my classes and they see me all the time, or they'll see me at the dog show and say, can you watch me in the ring? And, that kind of thing. But it's the people that are far away who don't have access, and they may have conformation handlers or handling classes, but most handling classes are taught by, breeders or people who show. They're not trainers. They're generally not professional trainers. So if you go to and I'm not going to say all, but I'm going to say most, you go to a handling class and it's like, well, my dog's afraid. I don't know what to do. You're going to be told you need to make him do it. He's fine. He's just being stubborn. He doesn't want to do it. And of course, then I say, why doesn't he want to do it?
Right.
And then it's like, well, he just doesn't want to. And it's like, okay, why does he want it? You know what I mean? I'm not just going to say, well, he's got to do it. I'm going to say, well, let's figure out a way to make him okay with it. I don't want a dog to be just in the ring doing it because something bad will happen to him if he doesn't, or because he has no choice. I want him to be okay with it. So, that's super important to me.
It is. It's important to me too. And that's why we're so thankful that we have you as a resource this is why we're offering, handling classes now.
I'm so happy about that.
Because we want other people to have that hands-on experience, because we can't have you here every month as we would wish. But it's important for people to have that community and have that support. So thank you for sharing what your mentorship brings up. And I will make sure after we end that I'll post that link as well. So if anyone's interested, they can dig into that further. It looks like we've got another comment or question here from Margaret. So she has a rare breed. How do you handle if the judge wants to examine on the ground versus the table or the ramp? That's interesting.
Well, the judge shouldn't if the breed is supposed to be on the table and ramp. So personally, I would ask. I would say to the steward probably, where's the ramp? Where's the table? Because we haven't trained there's no way a judge is going to be able to examine a chihuahua on the floor. Like they just can't come down. You're not supposed to even come down on little dogs like that on the ground. So I would just politely ask where the table is. And it can be hard because I've had good and bad experiences where judges have been like, oh, their table wrap optional. Mm-hmm. What breed is it?
I know. Tell us more, Margaret.
I'm trying to look. It looks like I can't really see in the picture. It's a little tiny circle right there. But yeah, if it's optional, then if they can do what they want, like they can show the dog on the ground or the ramp, then they just can. And what I would start doing is I would keep a list. You can also look on like a list like the judge's report card Facebook group where you say, where, does this judge, what do you know about this judge? Or does this judge not allow bait in the ring? Or does this judge usually put these dogs on, a ramp or not? But honestly, with the rarer breeds, they don't always know. I mean, I've had really, really well-known, highly respected judges who, who have to go, pull out their standard because they don't see enough Louchin to know. And I've had, like I said, really quality judges do that, where they are looking at two dogs and going, I can't decide. I got to go get the book, because they just don't know the breed enough because they don't see them enough. So I'm thrilled if a judge will go get the book and look something up if they don't know. And I'm telling you, the very respected judges will do that. The judges who are confident and good judges, if they don't know, they're not just going to be like, oh, they're going to look it up. They're going to have to look it up if they don't know. So, yeah, I would say best to just prepare the dog to be able to be judged anywhere, table, ramp, ground, just get them to where they can do it all over. And a lot of times I'll start, if a dog is apprehensive about someone going over them, a ground breed, like a breed we show on the ground, I will start the dog on a ramp because just that little bit of height can really increase their confidence with a stranger coming up. And then we can start to, tease it out if we want to later on. Well, we have to, obviously, but we can either just go right from doing it up on the ramp to the ground, or sort of gradually as the dog gets more comfortable.
And it sounds like it's really important to prepare for, what may come up, especially since she's got a rare breed. They may not know this dog, along with other breeds, need to be prepared for you showing the teeth versus someone else, or where they're going to be examined, how they will be touched, who will approach.
Mm-hmm. It can be challenging too, because even like Anna, who's in your area, obviously, she flew me out for Glaucus's first show, and I helped her get him his championship. And he's a rare breed, and it is a breed that the standard says that pacing is not to be penalized at all. In other words, a Neapolitan Mastiff is allowed to pace in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
But handlers, people would say, oh, you got to, he's pacing. A judge said to her, oh, too bad about the pacing. And I said, oh, please say that you said, oh, it's a good thing it's okay allowed in this breed. But she didn't feel comfortable saying that. But it's like they literally didn't know. They don't know the gait that but they might not. So how do you say something or not politely without offending anybody? You got to practice that.
And I was just thinking that you're gonna have to practice it so it doesn't come off like, well, da 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 da.
Yeah, we have a webinar that's called Show Ring Curveballs, and it talks about things like, what if you're in the ring and all of a sudden there's a bitch in season? What if you're in the ring and and X happens? Because there's a lot of things that you may not be prepared for that can happen. I mean, these are alive animals. Like it's not just always going to go how you're hoping it's going to go, because they do have a mind of their own. And and then also it's a bunch of other animals and they're with them, human and non-human, things can happen that you're not quite prepared for.
Yes. And you have to prepare because there's a lot of unknown. You may have never thought that was going to be an issue. I
cannot even tell you. I mean, I remember Lois Thomas, who was a handler in our Pekingese, going around the ring and her skirt fell off and she literally kicked it out of the ring. She stopped walking with her Pekingese, kicked her slip out, and just kept going. It was just, oh my God, what happened? That happens.
Wow.
I know.
Awesome. I can't. Oh, that was an experienced handler for sure.
Yeah, she didn't care.
Kick your skirt.
But some other people might have been like, I will never do this again. That was the worst experience of my life,
Right. Oh my gosh. All right, guys. Well, we're getting close to the top of the hour, so please post any last minute questions. While they do that, I thought we'd do a quick commercial. I'll do my commercial first, and then we'll have your commercial, so you're ready, talking about your next live class that's coming up. Okay. So for those of you who are either local to our Lawrenceville area or willing to travel, we actually have Vicki coming to us live in person at the beginning of February. I'm sorry, all of the private lessons are booked. Those went really fast. But we have 2 amazing workshops that still have a few working spots. I will post the link to all the details, but just to give you a high-level overview, on Saturday, we're talking all about movement. So, move it or lose it, as Vicki says. And then on Saturday, we're talking about adding some flash to, showing in the ring. So what are those little things you can do to really highlight your dog? And there's a couple spots left there that actually is a little bit more popular. So if you're interested in that one, sign up. But there's working spots, meaning you can bring your dog. If you prefer not bring your dog, or you want to come audit, that's also welcomed. So you can come watch, which is an excellent way to learn. We really limited the spots so that you have a lot of attention from Vicki. And we would love to have you at our facility in Lawrenceville beginning of February. And again, I'll post that link in the comments so you guys can sign up. So Vicki, what do you have coming up this month that folks could attend from anywhere in their PJs?
Well, we have our classes, our mentor program are ongoing, so they can do that anytime. When I started Show Dog Prep School, it was important to me that we didn't have a school where we had to register at a certain time, because sometimes people, you need to do it when you need to do it. So you can register anytime. And all of our classes, most of our classes come with or without coaching. So you can get it and just do the material on your own, or you can do it with the coaching option and get feedback and help. We also have our second Facebook Live class, which is where people come. They have the computer set up just like this, and you can watch me and follow along with your dog. We're doing one that's on showing off head and neck, carriage, expression, and focus on January 24th at 5 p.m. Pacific time. Those are super affordable at $19.95. You can go in and you have a week after the class has ended to rewatch the video, to ask questions to me, that kind of thing.
And that sold out last month. That was amazing.
The lean one did sell out, and this one is well on its way to selling out as well. So,
and I think what people really loved was that you worked Dolly, who didn't really have the skills.
Yeah,
and people got to see you work it through live, which I thought was really interesting from a perspective.
I do. I like the lives because I really think there's a lot of value in seeing unedited stuff that's not necessarily going perfect. Like, what do you do? These are animals, and it's not going to probably just go exactly how you want it to. So what's the plan if things get off? And I like being able to just say, oh, look what's happening. How am I going to fix this? But people can see the process of trying things.
Absolutely. All right. Well, it looks like we answered everybody's questions. Thank you guys so much for attending. It's always fun to have a guest. If you guys have any topics, either, Vicki does lives as well. So if there's a topic you want her to cover on her own show, then let her know. But if there's anybody you'd like me to have on, please let me know. And we'll post a bunch of links for additional resources. But thanks, Vicki. Is there anything you'd like to wrap up with?
No, I just encourage people to keep doing it and keep trying. Like our Facebook page, turn on the notifications so you see when we do videos. We do a Wednesday evening. Generally, we had a couple weeks off because of the holidays, but generally we do a 4 p.m. Pacific time live every week where I'll do, a training demo or discussion or something like that. So tune into that for sure too. And then of course our YouTube channel and Instagram.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. All Show Dog Prep School.
Yep.
Keeps it easy.
Yep.
All right, guys. Well, thanks again, and we'll see you when we see you.
Thank you.